Hey there, welcome to day 266, 365 days towards racial change. My name is Tom Nyback. We're moving right along on this Monday. Hope this post finds you doing well. I was just watching one of my kind of a favorite movie about Geronimo. Excuse me, and this trials and tribulations, struggles he and the Apache had. As the white man with force, had that westward expansion going on. So you see a lot of back and forth in the movie between Geronimo and military and things like that. And so I just turned it off so I can get this segment done. Because I've been at it a while and I need to get some rest. If I don't do this, I'm going to be a little bit off schedule. I'm already pressed as it is. But I think I've got a system going. But back to my point about the Native Americans, they share in, to a degree, grievances and gripes against white domination in America. But I'll say this, the Native American has, they kept their language, their culture, and everything. In a way, they got manipulated, murdered, and things like that. But they were fortunate in some ways in that, they were not sequestered and holistically re-educated and oriented into the system, then marginalized. There was a clear distinction between them and white people. That remains to this day. Therefore, the Native American kept their language, their dress, their dances, their everything, customs, and all this. And it's very impressive, admirable. Not so for the black folks in the land who's had all this stripped away. I wonder, that's a big thing, and it's something I've never appreciated until this year, until I started this project, that the damage done to, employed against, works on black people, black communities, was that the white establishment, that European engine back then. I think it just prevails now, but back then, as they were getting the idea, the implications of the control and manipulation and the conditioning that they would employ, as that was getting together, I think, I don't think anybody had an idea that this would be an experiment unlike anything to go on anywhere else on the earth. This conditioning, re-education of black folks. So, as I got into this project, I stumble onto these facts and stuff, but, it helps me get some perspective. I begin to understand the plight of black people. It's like a guy at work asked me, he asked me some question like the difference between knowing philosophy and being involved with philosophy and doing something else. And I said, in regards to philosophy, ignorance is bliss. Because my life would be so much different than whatnot if I would just put the blinders on and stay ignorant of reality, of not being able to see in my workplace, in public transportation, when I'm out in public, these racist spirits in the population. You know, they've been there, mounted and posted up for a long time. My awareness is just recently getting in line with the truth um, about the land in which I live. You know, I don't know too many black minds that are hungry after this type of new level of awareness. You know, I see so many black folks just going from one thing to another and not stopping to think about where they are, how they got there, and all that stuff. It's even a harder argument if that black individual is doing well and thriving in the system, and they don't see it at all. The white mind that created this, their European roots, and the offspring that still benefit from this conditioning and all that I talked about. You know, does it ever occur to them the privilege, the fortune that they are under, and how they're so fortunate? If you remember some portions of Uncle Tom's Cabin, St. Clair, get a lot of commentary from St. Clair about his privilege, and he knows his privilege. He knows being born white has made all the difference. He's totally okay with it. He does dish out some level of humanity of not being a harsh slave master, but he's comfortably there nonetheless. You don't see him running, you know, selling everything and going to work in the fields. You know what I mean? Privilege. It's okay. That's the way uh, the dice were rolled in the universe. You know, I kind of have a belief in higher power and that there's an order, some singular intelligence is orchestrating a lot of this over time, and there's going to be a moment in cosmic history where it's all going to come together, and things will be made. I'm not going to say right or wrong, but everything's going to be made so that everyone is totally okay with how history rolled out. And if there's deficiencies, they'll be made up. And if there's overages, they'll be leveled off and made right. You know, that's what I'm believing. Oh, I think I forgot to talk about financial literacy. I've been motivated today. I did a lot of studying. I got midterms and big papers are coming due and whatnot. And in the midst of all my activity, I've been cleaned up my space a little bit. I finally got back into my little investment, amateur investment site. Got some money going back in there and all that. Back to my 5 hours a day and all that. I say that for financial literacy because are we paying attention? I think to a degree, the financial scientists and the people pulling financial levers, the Federal Reserve, and all that. The people that tinker with the system and can cause booms and busts and cause rhetoric about trade wars and things like that. I'm feeling like there is a sense where they're have a hold of the system to a degree that our major swings economically that won't cause worldwide meltdowns. Uh, and moving in that faith and in that confidence and starting to move forward, with my resources and finances again. Feels good to keep that commitment. One thing I'll say about financial literacy for you is if you're new to money, or if you want to start holding on to your money instead of seeing it go out the door, then put it in your mind that you're going to live forever and that you need your money to work harder for you in those later years. Could be because heavy manual work, maybe the brain soften a little bit, and you need your money working for you, just as the slaves did, those white folks hundreds of years ago. All that free labor, automated money and stuff, but it's got to really work hard because of inflation and some other things, hidden taxes and whatnot, and like that, rising prices is going to erode the power of your dollar. What you could do with $1 today, you might need $2 or $3 by the time you're preparing to leave this world. But believe that you're going to live forever to some degree. I'm inspired to do this work by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. You can find him on YouTube. He's all over the place. I've read through his works. We are in this one again. There's plenty there. We got, there's 101 questions in here, so that means less than a third of the year is spent in this book, A Black History Reader. We're looking at question 19 today. Going over some aspects of the 13th Amendment and its legality. Look out for what you might learn today. Black labor, white wealth, social power, and economic justice, and Dr. Anderson's national plan to empower Black America. Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com, and like I said here on YouTube, check out the hashtag #US2 symbol here behind me. You'll find Black women coming together, having a conversation, support one another. There are some differences between Black males and Black females. Have some issues there. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF, kind of a Black Facebook experience. This is the World Wide Web. If you can't find your flavor, your voice, your interest, then do what I did. Start your own and see where that will take you. And finally, when it's maybe before the week is out, we'll get back into Uncle Tom's Cabin. We were very close to being done. I like to air it out once in a while, we get into some real factual stuff instead of fictional stuff, but it's all relevant. Plenty of talking points. We got 400 or 500 years of experiences and commentary to look over. So getting 365 days is a cinch, essentially. That's less than a topic a year, I guess, right? Excuse me. All right, Black History, the Black History Reader. Question 19. The question is the 13th Amendment legal according to the U.S. Constitution, and did it end slavery? And you're like, if this is the first time hearing this, and this kind of blew my mind to some of the facts we'll talk about with this, is that um, you might say, of course they're free, right? I go to get on the bus, go to work, spend my money the way I want, essentially, in all this. And how could Dr. Anderson question the freedom of black people in the United States? Now, before we get to the text, we will say, at the beginning of the year, I had a lot of angst and emotion around this issue. And I talked a lot about, I've really trailed off lately. I toned it down, but I used to talk a lot about, we'd be doing something else. I work nights and stuff like that. I wouldn't be working nights if I didn't have to. I would, now that I'm getting my head together, I'd have my own business. I have employees. I have my own space to work with and whatnot. And, um, it seems like uh, us Americans, and this is for everybody, not just for black folks, this is for everybody in America. How many of us are living the lives that we really choose? And I think if we're really honest about it, we will say the extreme minority of people are living the lives purely of their choosing. Most of the people, the people that are racist towards me on the train and at work and stuff like that, but we wouldn't be there in that physical space if we didn't have to be, getting up at crazy times and all this stuff. I'm all for supporting infrastructure, and I know national defense and some common denominators about being a citizen of a space. But you got me working way over what I desire, doing something I don't even really want to do. There's plenty of people qualified to put the box here, over there. There are plenty of people can do that. I'm not in a skilled position like when I used to drive trucks or something. Uh, uh, but Dr. Anderson's question, is more specific and historical and whatnot. But I just know that at the top of the segment, that slavery is still alive in kind. We make more of our choices. We move around, but if we did not perform, then we would be compelled, coerced, punished in a way by the system for not interacting in certain ways. Keep that in mind about slavery. All right, the legality of the 13th Amendment, though. The problem is this, Abraham Lincoln, Civil War, all this stuff is going on, and emancipating the slaves. I think just a couple days ago that maybe I said this a couple days ago, when Lincoln freed the slaves, I won't go into his motivations for making an emancipation. But it really only it was only really legal in the northern states. The southern states were fighting to keep the institution, alive. Uh, Even though the North is making these moves and claims as though they are in control of the complete United States at that time. They're just fighting the Civil War against a rebellious South, hence they're rebels. So that's some of the background there as we piece his argument together, which is very good here. To ratify any law, anything in the United States, you need 3/4 of the duly elected legislators. Okay, state legislatures. 3/4 of the body have to give your yay or nay to ratify a law, and that's a step that's never been completed. This book has a copyright in 2017. He said it's, slaves being free has never been ratified, never been the process never been completed. But here's the numbers. So when the Civil War ended in 1865, there was the United States was 35 states. There were still 15 shy coming up in the future, right? But after the war, you had 35 states. And therefore, the 3/4 roughly comes out to 27 states needed to ratify an amendment. Problem was, of the 22 Union states, 2 states did not come along with this freedom of the slaves. And as you can imagine, they were kind of southern type Mason-Dixon line states, Kentucky and Delaware. They didn't want any part of it. So now we needed to get the southern states on board. Well, we just finished a civil war. There's really no government from the South operating. So what the Union did was they installed military commanders in there, and they're doing cleanup from the war anyway. So you need people posted there militarily to work on restructuring the government, make sure people are loyal and things like that. Think about how long we stayed in Iraq, we're still in Afghanistan, things like that. You don't just pull out after you conquer or win a war. You've got to have some things in place to get that geographical space to stabilize anyway. So that's what they did. But the function of these Union commanders was twofold: to work on rehabilitating the states, southern states, and to be representatives of the will of the government now that the war was over and won by the North. So that's what they did. They just installed these military commanders, which the problem is they weren't elected by the people to represent the state. It's pure dictatorshipism happening there. So the government is, they went through the motions to ratify this amendment, but not really. It's interesting. As I've gone through this project, I've seen a couple of times where the United States government, encumbered in its own practices, procedures, and laws, like they have to go through the motions, even though it's a sham. They still go through the motions to put this decision, law, on the books. And it's sometimes comical to watch. Unfortunately, real lives hung in the balance. So that's one big problem. This ratification, technically it has not taken place. It would satisfy us and any neurosis I have around this, because technically there's never been a ratified 13th Amendment, an amendment abolishing slavery. That's never happened. Um, you had dictatorships and stuff like that. So I won't go too long with that, but some people might get an idea. But it sure would soothe my conscience if I saw on CNN all the southern states that represented that time got together and ratified the 13th Amendment. Then I go, oh, you know, because what if the country just falls apart and disintegrates? You know, I bet you're going to find some people out there to nitpick and say, well, the blacks were really never freed. So let's use them up first as a resource. Let's go back 400 or 500 years and start over again. South was in disarray after the war. Union commanders installed. Now the amendment, Dr. Anderson, he uses this term clawback clause. The amendment has some interesting wording in it. I need to come back here to look at it. He says the 13th Amendment reads neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Okay, except here we go in the loophole. As a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. There was the major loophole. Okay, you freed the slaves with your false ratification of the 13th Amendment. But now you say, well, criminals, we can take criminals. So guess who the criminals were? Black folks. Listen to some of the crimes that could get uh, people life or long prison terms on a work chain gang. If you've seen Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence in the movie Life, you'll see how quickly a black person can get sentenced and do this hard labor and stuff. They made it criminal for blacks to dispute with a white person, count change in front of a white person, look down on a white person, look a white person in the eye, speak to a white person with your hat on, and listen to some of this. Call a white person a liar, do something to a white person, be a self-determined, affirmed human being with black skin, being contrary to a white person could get you on the chain gang for an indeterminate amount of time. So that's the problem. This is the second part of that question. And I think it's an uh, important observation by Dr. Anderson is that the white power system, this European white controlled system, it's going to keep that status quo on black folks no matter what. They give lip service. We had this big war, civil war. I'm sure it made international news and all that, but still the North wants to come out looking like good guys because essentially the civilized nations wanted to weren't so much for slavery. They were paying for their labor and stuff. Now they were instituting different kinds of servitude, serfdom, and stuff like that. Forget skin color and talk economically. You're going to find the rich still manipulating the bourgeois, the poor, and whatnot, uh, like that. The, the proletariats are going to still be huddling and hoping for a break and some of that language. But America had to really present itself as a slave free nation, and that's one of the ways they did it. So, you know, they have the terms in black and white. Everyone in America is free now. But in the back room, in the back corner, they are, still manipulating, harassing, imprisoning, taking free labor from black folks, just under a whole different system called Jim Crow for the next 100 years. That Jim Crow was just another way that these laws and stuff, black codes, white codes, another way just to keep black folks enslaved and marginalized and spitting out free labor. I'm so glad, like my eyes are open, so I don't let that happen to me anymore. Just a white guy at the supermarket, I had just beaten him. Well, I saw him out the corner of my eye, kind of rushing to the deli counter, but my thing to get down first. So, he's a little white guy too, but you could tell just the privilege. Uh, so, he's interrupting me. He's trying to be so polite as he tries to cut me in line. And I was like, hold up, bro. I'm 6'1", almost 300 pounds. I may just have to demonstrate on you. This guy's like 5'8", skinny, but privilege. It's like, no, man. I'm just in a different space today, world. You don't get that off anymore, not from me, not from what I know doing this project. Listen, I'm way over time. Don't want to hold you hostage. I'm Thomas Nyback. That's day 266 in the books, out of the way. Stick around. Keep your eyes open, and we'll see you tomorrow. Go do some reading for yourself, too. Bye-bye.